If you're researching psilocybin facilitator training programs or natural medicine facilitator training programs, you might notice a lot of similarities amongst the program descriptions. All of us seem to be teaching ancient history, cultural equity, ethics, pharmacology, facilitator skills, administration, integration, practicum. That's all true. It's all important, and it's all part of the core competencies that all licensed facilitator programs have to teach. But not all facilitator training programs are created equal, and not all of them are weaving in the most relevant information and skills that you really need to effectively do this work. After leading 9 cohorts in natural medicine facilitation and training over 100 psilocybin facilitators with the Entheogen Institute, I can tell you that there are 3 critical things that set our program apart that the other programs either skim over or skip entirely. So if you train at one of these programs that don't emphasize these skills, then more than likely you're going to experience one of the following career stoppers in the first year of your practice. You're going to struggle when you step into the work. You're going to suffer from imposter syndrome, and you're never going to launch yourself into the role. You won't be able to help your clients to access their full potential of what the medicine offers, and you might even unknowingly re-traumatize them. You won't be able to sustain yourself as a facilitator. The work will be too draining and you'll burn out. And the last thing that might happen is the service centers where you actually do the facilitations won't want to rent space to you because they're going to think you don't understand the core foundations of the work. I'm Chaley. I'm a licensed facilitator, and I'm the founder and director of Entheogen Institute. The Entheogen Institute is amongst one of the first ever licensed programs. We were licensed in Oregon in 2022, and we're now licensed in Oregon and Colorado. We're on our 10th training cycle, and our first cohort is amongst the first ever licensed facilitators in the world. So today, I'm going to tell you what these 3 things are and why they matter. Thing 1, nervous system regulation and co-regulation. Most programs are not teaching nervous system regulation, let alone practicing it. In our program, it is foundational because nervous system regulation and co-regulation are at the heart of this work. And most programs don't approach it this way. They might not even know it. But we recognize that people coming into this work are coming from all different backgrounds. Whether you have a degree in counseling and psychology, or you've been a barista or a tech worker for the last several years, everybody can equally do this work. And this is what needs to happen for you to do it effectively. So facilitating natural medicine sessions, it's not about diagnosing clinical interventions. It's not about being fancy. It's really about creating a felt sense of safety so that your clients can surrender to the medicine and go as deep as they need. And that starts with you. So your nervous system regulation or lack of it becomes the container for someone else's healing. Research on co-regulation shows that when one nervous system is regulated, it literally helps to regulate all the others. This is measurable. This is biological. Your state impacts their state. So you as a facilitator are part of the set and setting, and your nervous system is the container. So when you're regulated, your client feels it. And the way they feel it is through a felt sense of safety that allows them to put the eye shades on, to lean back, to relax into their experience and surrender to the medicine and go deeper and meet whatever needs to be met. Because here's what happens when a facilitator hasn't been trained in this. They're sitting with a client And about 90 minutes into the session, the person starts emoting. They might sob, cry, scream, yell. Maybe they're looping. There's so many variations of what comes up in a session. Maybe they try to run out of a room. For some facilitators, they can get triggered pretty easy by this. It can be scary. A lot of people can't sit with grief. The people come in and they'll cry for hours. And if your tendency is to like want to stop it, want to give them a tissue and disrupt the pattern and calm yourself through getting them to stop doing what they're doing, whoop, wrong approach. You'll see their shoulders, the facilitators will get tense. Their breathing gets shallow. Maybe they're not even breathing and their adrenaline kicks in. And let me tell you, when that happens, safety has left the room. Facilitators do not need advanced de-escalation training. What they need is advanced training in creating safety. And safety begins in your own regulated nervous system. So just as clients can feel an unregulated facilitator, they can also sense a regulated one. One invites them to panic, and the other invites them to feel safe and to go deeper. And this is the work. And if a program isn't training you in this and giving you time to embody and practice, because nervous system regulation is not just a theory, it's an embodied skill, then they're missing really what matters the most. Thing 2, structures for ongoing transformation. So the second thing that most programs miss is preparing you for how this work will change you and how does it support you as you move, through the work. So a lot of trainings treat facilitation just like a certification. You learn the material, you pass a test, you're done. Our program teaches you that this is where the real learning begins. And we offer structures that continue to support you as you step into your role as the facilitator. So 6 months into their practice, we often have graduates coming back and reaching out, not in crisis, but in gratitude, telling us, "I'm so glad that you taught us when we work with the medicine. The medicine works with us." And they go on to tell me an incredible story of their own transformation through just doing the work by being a facilitator for others. Or I've had several people contact me and say, I really appreciate you emphasizing self-care. At the time, I thought it was ridiculous. But now I can see how this work would consume me if I hadn't learned these practices. We also hear from the service centers or the facilities where the experiences are held in. When you have a psilocybin experience, they're done in Oregon in a service center, and in Colorado, it's called a healing center. But we also hear back from the service centers consistently telling us that they love to have the graduates of the Entheogen Institute because they understand the paperwork and the rules and the regulations. They show up ready to work as a team, and that this is something they're really grateful for because the facility owners also have invested. And so a service center wants to know that a facilitator who's coming in respects the rules, the landscapes, and the best practices so that when they're doing the work, it lifts everybody up. So our graduates understand that facilitation is an embodied skill. So what that translates to is we teach in our program the importance of doing your own integration work after each session, because the mushrooms are working with you when they're working with your clients. And the learning that happens when you take the time to integrate after each session is just incredible. Sometimes I learn more from facilitating my clients than I do from doing the journeys for myself or like experiencing. They're both good. Don't get me wrong. So our students understand the importance of coming in as an empty vessel, not just here, but they've practiced it in the class. We definitely call out when that's not happening. And invite you to show up that way and practice that and then check in after. How did that feel? Because sometimes it's difficult. These things are very simple concepts to understand, yet not so easy to embody and do. Our facilitators understand somatic presence, and they have the tools to work with the parts of them that are popping into the space saying, you need to do more. You need to rescue her. You need to, like, whatever, all those little parts that come up telling you you're not doing enough. Our facilitators are ready for that and have the skills to let it go and return to their empty vessel state and sit with somatic and abiding presence. So the best facilitators learn from each experience with their client, and they spend their time integrating after the session. They also participate in consultation groups and peer review, and they understand the importance of a solid ethical foundation, self-care, and self-compassion. So in our program, we build in the structures for the ongoing education, for the peer review, for the self-reflection, and the consultation hours from day one. And we normalize the discomfort that comes with the growth, the giant leap from the program to the reality of being a facilitator. And we've got you covered in that leap. So we also teach as part of these structures that keep, this thing too, are the importance of staying current with the current laws, rules, and regulations, and not just relying on your memory, because the rules are changing quickly in this field all the time. Between Oregon and Colorado, there's sometimes quarterly updates. Oregon is mellowing out to more yearly, but you want to stay aware and up to date with it. That's what makes everybody feel safe. You also want to stay aware of the research. There's a lot of research being done and being published monthly. There's a new journal article or something out that's even more informative to what we're doing and can help inform your practice. And you want to talk to other facilitators, hear their stories, what they've learned, what works, what doesn't work, the realities of the work. And having that group makes it possible and just really fun. It's nice. So if you're going to do this work with integrity, which you need to do this work with integrity, you need to be willing to allow it to change you and to also change with the changes, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of them. And in order to do that, you really need to have the support structures in place for that ongoing transformation and peer check-ins. Most programs really don't prepare the facilitators for the reality of the work and the importance of the sustainability. Thing 3, embodiment practice. As we said, here is a lot different than doing it. So the third thing is we understand and we've done the research on how adults actually learn. And there's a whole field of study around it. It's called andragogy, adult learning theory. And one of the core principles is that adults don't just learn from lectures. They learn through interaction, through sharing their own examples, allowing the dots to light up between what we're saying and drawing on times of their life where this relates. We learn by doing. We learn by practicing. We learn by making mistakes and trying again. So many of the facilitator program structures are more lecture-based, PowerPoint-based, reading assignments, whatever, but they're not embodiment-based. And that's what makes the difference. You can learn how to swim all day. You can read the books on how to swim, but when it comes down to it, it's not going to do you a bit of good when you jump in the pool. You're going to have to practice and you're going to have to learn how to do it. And it's the same with being a facilitator. You can learn here and then you do it. And so we guide you through the doing it and the practicing. So a skill or an ability is something that you embody, and they require practice and feedback within a safe container. So in our program, we emphasize embodiment over information. Don't get me wrong. We teach the theory. We teach to your head. We cover the rules, the regulations, the research, the ethics, all the components, all the core competencies and domains that are needed for you to be successful in this field. And we practice all of the core abilities that are needed for you to be successful in this field. So we understand that it's not just intellectual work, that it's an embodied skill set. All right, so we just went over the 3 critical components that are missing in many programs that are foundational to our program and foundational to the success of a facilitator and to facilitating effective transformational sessions with your clients. They were nervous system regulation and co-regulation, not just the theory, but the practice, because your regulated presence is the container for healing. Thing 2, structures for the ongoing transformation. It's not just a one and done, but it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a practice that you step into. And it's the support needed for the journey and the tools needed to be successful in the journey. The ongoing research, the peer review, the staying current with the rules and regulations, staying connected to other facilitators and best practices, and getting real feedback. So, and the 3rd, embodied learning, training based on how adults learn best. We don't rely solely on lectures and PowerPoints, and we don't teach just for the head, but we also practice, give feedback, invite you to look inward and do your own work and experience for yourself this healing pathway. So if you're interested in training with the Entheogen Institute, I invite you to apply for our next cycle. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.